The chili incident. In season 5 episode 4, this episode starts with Cartman bragging to his friends that he bought pubic hair from an older kid named Scott Tenorman for $10, with Cartman thinking he hit puberty. The boys then tell him how you grow your own pubic hair, meaning Cartman got scammed. Cartman then tries to get his money back, but Scott tricks him out of an extra $6.12 by multiple tricks, with one of them being a little piggy dance that he shows to the entire town, which humiliates Cartman. Cartman is now on the verge of crashing out and decides to get revenge, with his first plan training a pony to bite off Scott's eggplant. Cartman also figures out that Scott is a huge fan of the band Radiohead, telling Stan and Kyle how he's going to lure Scott to a chili cook-off and have the pony bite off his eggplant while Radiohead watches him cry. Stan and Kyle become 6'9" and decides to snitch to Scott, but Cartman knew his friends would backstab him with his real plan behind the scenes. Cartman decides to send Scott's parents to an abandoned farm where a pony was supposedly getting abused. When Scott's parents arrived, they ended up trespassing a farmer's property, with the farmer shooting both the parents and sending them back to the lobby. While the farmer was talking to the police, Cartman decides to steal the bodies, chop them up, and mix them into a chili which he brought to the cook-off. At the cook-off, Scott serves Cartman a chili loaded with pubic hair from every kid in the town, thinking he's fooled Cartman. But Cartman already knew about this and decided to switch out the chili. Scott then starts to eat Cartman's chili, and before he finishes, Cartman reveals that his parents' remains were in the chili. Scott then finds his mother's finger in the bowl, with him breaking down. Right after that, Radiohead walks in, having received a letter from Cartman, with them making fun of Scott for being a crybaby. The episode ends with Cartman licking the tears off Scott's face, with Stan and Kyle horrified, agreeing they should never make Cartman that angry ever again. Cartman's dad. In season 14 episodes 5 and 6, the episode starts with every single celebrity that South Park has ever made fun of returning to sue the town. Tom Cruise, Mel Gibson, and dozens more all file a class action lawsuit. Their only demand is to bring out the Prophet Muhammad so they can get his power to never be made fun of again. Running alongside all of this is Scott Tenorman, who has spent years locked up in a mental institution since Cartman fed him his parents. During that time, Scott did nothing else but research Cartman's entire history, looking for the ultimate way to get back at him in revenge of Cartman getting his parents killed. Scott eventually returns as a leader of the gender separatist movement and captures Cartman. He brings him to a lair he decorated to look exactly like the Chili Con Carnival from the original episode, and then he drops the bombshell. He tells Cartman how his mom is the biggest hoe in all of South Park and how she's hooked up with the entire city. His dad, Jack Tenorman, was a right tackle for the 1991 Denver Broncos. On the night of South Park's annual drunken barn dance, Jack had an affair with Cartman's mom, Leanne, and she got pregnant. The entire town knew about this and covered it up to protect the Broncos season. Jack Tenorman was Cartman's biological father, making Cartman and Scott half-brothers. Cartman realizes he unknowingly had his own father killed, chopped up, and fed to his half-brother. Dr. Mephisto then confirms it was true, and Cartman completely falls apart, but not for the reason you expect. He doesn't care that he murdered his own father, but what destroys him is finding out that Jack Tenorman was a redhead, which makes Cartman half ginger. Cartman's hand puppet Mitch Connor eventually cheers him up, reminding him that he is also half Denver Bronco, and Cartman decides that is actually pretty cool. In season 18, episode 3, the episode starts with Cartman claiming to be a transgender so he can use the girls' bathroom at school, setting off a whole debate about gender identity and transgender bathroom rights. That is the main story that everyone is watching. Meanwhile, a reporter from Spin Magazine is going around South Park trying to figure out why the pop star Lorde performed at some random kid's backyard party in a small Colorado town which no one can explain. At home, Sharon finds fishneck stockings hidden inside Randy's jeans while doing laundry. Randy has been secretly using the women's restroom at his workplace, claiming to be a trans woman and using the privacy to compose music. He then goes home and records it in his garage using auto-tune software to make his voice sound like a woman's. His record producer then keeps calling and pressuring him not to quit, telling him his music is way too important. When Stan comes to Randy confused about the whole gender identity situation happening at school, Randy sits him down and confesses the truth. Randy confesses that he is Lorde, the actual pop star. He then tells Stan how he started sneaking into the women's bathroom at work just for the the peace and quiet, found it creatively freeing, started writing music there, and somehow it blew up into a worldwide career. He has been living a double life as an internationally famous musician the entire time. Sharon eventually sits Randy down and gives him a full emotional speech about how he should never be ashamed of expressing himself, not knowing for a second that she is literally talking to Lord, and Randy is moved to tears. The Spin magazine reporter ends up killing the story, and Lord released a new song called Push, Feel Good on a Wednesday, and both of them ended up becoming bangers. At the very end, Randy continues his career as Lord, and this goes under the rug. Butters' dad is gay. In season 5 episode 14, Butters wants to do something special for his parents' anniversary. He decides to secretly follow his dad Stefan into the town to find out what gift he is planning to buy for his mom. What he finds is his dad walking into an adult theater playing very sus freaky videos, then heading to a sus bad house where men are having anonymous freaky stuff straight out of a party of a man I can't name. Butters, being completely innocent, has no idea what any of it is. He thinks that his dad went to see a sad movie and then went wrestling. He goes home and cheerfully describes everything to his mom Linda in full innocent detail. Linda immediately understands exactly what happened. She has a complete breakdown, and in a panic she drives Butters to a reservoir and pushes him in to drown him, then plans to end herself right after. Butters survives by pure luck without his mom knowing, and spends the rest of the episode wandering through the woods completely lost. He then gets a ride from a truck driver who eventually dumps him off for being too annoying. Back home, his parents report him missing and tell police a Puerto Rican guy kidnapped him. The town takes it seriously, and it turns into a full media frenzy. Butter then arrives back home out of nowhere, where his parents have no choice but to confess to the police what actually happened. The cops say it was a family matter and they leave, and no one ends up getting arrested. The episode ends with Butters being taken out for dinner at Bennett Gardens, if I'm saying that right, as a reward for surviving, and his parents completely get away with it. In season 15 episode 4, the school posts a list of all the boys' eggplant sizes based on a new government health measurement program called T.M.I. Cartman is dead last on the entire list. He does not take it well. He rips the entire list down and replaces it with his own corrected version using a complicated formula he invented himself that somehow bumps him up to a more respectable position. The school is not impressed and sends him straight to anger management therapy. At the session, his therapist immediately starts going at him, calling him fatty with every insult he can come with. The whole point is to deliberately trigger an angry reaction out of Cartman so he can observe and treat it. It is basically his entire therapy strategy. Cartman just sits there completely still and says nothing, and he takes out his phone under the table and quietly starts texting. A couple minutes later, the therapist's phone rings. It is his wife. She is hysterical, accusing him of going on a web chat with an underage boy. The therapist has no idea what she's talking about and is desperately trying to deny it mid-session, completely losing his composure while Cartman sits across from him not moving a muscle. And out of nowhere, his wife decides to end herself right on the phone. The whole time, Cartman had been texting her fake evidence, fake chat logs, and fake police reports claiming her husband was a predator. All of it was made up on the spot purely as a response to being called a fatty in a therapy session. The therapist completely breaks down, and Cartman calmly puts his phone in his pocket, looks up and says, "I'm not fat, I'm big bone." Then he gets up and walks out. Cartman takes a poop. In season 12 episode 9, Wendy gives a class presentation on breast cancer awareness, and Cartman mocks her throughout the entire thing. After class, Wendy snaps and challenges him to fight after school. Word spreads through the entire school instantly, and everyone is excited to watch. Cartman is absolutely terrified, and he tries every possible way to get out of it, with none of them working. He quietly apologizes to Wendy, which she refuses unless he does it publicly. He drags her into the janitor's closet and offers her money, and she refuses again. She tells him she is going to make him eat his own underwear. Out of desperation, class was about to end, and Cartman needed a way to get into detention that day to avoid finding Wendy. He then decides to run up to his teacher's desk and lay a stinker to get in detention that day. Eventually, Cartman still had to fight Wendy, getting his ass absolutely whooped and her walking away. Cartman then cries and worries that his friends will think that he's not cool anymore. They tell him they never thought he was cool and always hated him, and Cartman assumes they are just saying that to make him feel better, concluding concluding that they still like him and walks away satisfied. The photo incident. In season 11 episode 2, Cartman has a hobby of photographing Butters in humiliating positions during sleepovers. His supposed masterpiece is a photo of himself giving a thumbs up with Butters' eggplant in his mouth, which he proudly shows the boys as proof that Butters is gay. Kyle immediately points out the obvious problem that Cartman is the one who put a eggplant in his mouth, which makes Cartman the gay one and not Butters. Cartman panics and Kyle then sarcastically tells him the only way to fix it is to quote-unquote reverse it by having Butters do it back to him, which would cancel it out. Cartman genuinely believes this and rushes to Butters' house that same night. He blindfolds Butter and is about to put his eggplant in Butters' mouth, but Butters' dad Stefan walks in. Before Cartman can explain anything, he decides to run away, and Stefan sees his blindfolded son on his knees in front of a pantless Cartman and tells Butters he is bi-curious. Butters, still blindfolded with no idea what just happened, just goes along with it. Stefan sends Butters off to Camp New Grace, a conversion therapy camp. The camp is shown as generally damaging, with boys regularly attempting to end themselves at this camp. The episode ends with Cartman showing this picture to the entire class of Butters' eggplant in Cartman's mouth, with it being an embarrassing moment for Cartman. Casa Bonita. In season 7 episode 11, Kyle announces his mom is taking him and 3 friends to Casa Bonita for his birthday. It is a massive Mexican restaurant in Denver with cliff divers, caves, arcade games, mariachi bands, puppet shows, and sopapilas. He invites Stan, Kenny, and Butters, but not Cartman because how he treats Kyle. Cartman immediately starts trying to be nice, trying to go with them instead of Butters, and Kyle then tells Cartman if Butters can't go, then he can. He finds Butters and tells him that a meteor the size of Wyoming is about to hit Earth. He hides him in a bomb shelter stocked with food and water and tells him to stay until it is safe. Kyle, feeling guilty about Butters being missing, proposes the trip a full week. Cartman now has to keep the lie going and has to extend it. He then tells Butters the meteor hit and the world is now overrun with radioactive cannibals. He makes him wear a cardboard box over his head so he cannot see the world is completely normal. He moves him to a broken down gas station, then locks him in an old refrigerator to protect him. A garbage truck then comes and dumps the refrigerator with Butters still inside at the town landfill. Butters breaks out, sees the dump, and decides this must be destroyed ruins of the earth. He finds a stray dog and starts rebuilding civilization. A junkyard worker named Irene eventually finds Butter and tells him the truth. Butter calls his parents and the police. The boys head to Casa Bonita, and the second they arrive, Kyle's mom gets a call that Butters has been found and Cartman was behind everything, with police on the way. Cartman, knowing he only has about 1 minute to do everything, sprints through every single attraction in the entire restaurant and eats as much food as he can. He then gets cornered by the police and he ends up jumping into a waterfall while getting arrested. Cartman then says it was all worth it and he doesn't regret a single thing. And that's gonna be the biggest plot twist in South Park. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this content, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys another time.